Kingstream Entertainment. Ruslan.
All right, guys, I'm here with the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Nick D himself from Culpeper, Virginia. He's been on the channel before, friend of the channel, of course, and he is a Rapzilla freshman. Nick, you're live, by the way, so you don't want to look into the camera. Welcome all the people. There you go. There's that smile. What's up, Nick? Let me unmute you here. How you doing, champ?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. So, you guys, if you're watching this live, let me know how everything sounds on the levels. So, Nick, let's just jump right into it. Let's talk about what the people want to talk about. You are a Christian. You love Jesus. I know you too. You're actually one of the nicest Christian people I know. You're you're a really good guy. But you do not rap about Jesus a whole lot in the way that maybe some Christian rap fans would want you to. Tell us why.
Yeah, I think, when you specifically say Christian rap fans or CHH, I might not, meet their expectation of, an artist who's Christian. But I just feel like how I approach it is I want to answer and respond with Jesus and not shove it down people's throat. I don't want to force Jesus on anybody without them having an open mind about it first. And I think that, it comes down to, the way that I carry myself or the way that I treat others or the way that I give and love. And then to have people see that and wonder, what's different about him, why is he so, giving or loving or nice? And then I want them to ask me why, so I can say it's because of Jesus, because at that point they're already open to hearing about it. And they're not, they don't feel like it's being forced upon them to try to change their mind,
So when you say forced upon them, what do you mean by forced? You mean presented in an unnatural way, or do you mean like legitimate?
Them uncomfortable.
Okay,
Yeah,
talk about that.
I think when you think back to how when Jesus was walking around and living it, I think the majority of people that came to know the Lord, it didn't happen with a direct conversation with Jesus. They heard about how he was living. They watched how he lived. They saw things that he did. And that made them want to know more, not necessarily a direct conversation with him, if that makes sense.
So you're saying Jesus interacted with, the people he interacted with the scriptures, but there was also people that came to faith in him that were aware of his ministry, but maybe did not have direct access, but it was an overflow of the works that were done by him.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's how I feel. And like I said, I just kind of approach and I want to reach the farthest person out. My goal is not to make a song and impress a Christian. My goal is to make a song. They're already saved, they're good. Worship music is more for Christians. I'm trying to reach the farthest person out and be able to strike a conversation with somebody who would have otherwise never wanted to speak to a Christian because I'm doing something that they can relate to.
Got you. Now, your background is interesting because I think this is a tie-in to how you approach this. Some people, get saved, they start making music, they start doing ministry stuff, and then they segue into making music for God or making worship music for God or making Christian rap for God. That wasn't your approach, and I think your approach ties into how you do music now, right? You've been walking with the Lord for a few years. You've served in Young Life Ministry in your local area. You're married. You're a husband. You lead with that. You're very transparent about that stuff. But you also were a very successful cinematographer, film photographer, video guy. And just talk about that real quick in terms of how you've been able to build a business in that and how that allows you to, be a Christian that provides a service to people instead of just being like a Christian photographer or a Christian videographer. How was it building your own business, but that a business allowing you to serve people as a Christian?
You were like how I grew a business, or
Just
how?
briefly tell us what you do.
Yeah, I'm a photographer and cinematographer. I started out doing just video work because photography is a super oversaturated market. And then once I built up a reputation with video, I started offering photography services as well. I shoot a lot of weddings. I do a lot of small business content and some of the stuff for the town that I live in. I do all of the town is Culpeper, Virginia, and I do a lot of the Visit Culpeper, VA, content where they use to promote the town to get, tourist attraction to come here. Even though it's not really a touristy town, it's a small town, but we have good restaurants and things like that. But that's about what my business does.
Now, in that line of work, how does your faith play into that? Meaning that when someone's hiring you to do their video for their wedding or their photography for their wedding, you don't just pull up and be like, yo, I'm Nick, the Christian photographer. Let me tell you about my faith, right? How does that, but you do get, your faith does drive you in a lot of those ways, whether it's the work, the actual work being excellent, whether it is how you treat people. Talk about that approach in photography and your faith.
Yeah, I think every opportunity, every job, every client is just an opportunity for kind of what I was talking about before. Is just an opportunity to love on somebody and to be a light that, is different. I'm sure. And there's things like this, like there's photographers that try to impress photographers, and they're like really gung ho about awards and, like just things, winning things and having the best gear. And I'm just trying to impress the client.
Yes.
I'm just trying to love on the client well. I'm trying to have them leave feeling, better and uplifted. And there's been many times where, and I have Jesus tattooed on my hand, and I put it on my hand so that everything that I do with my hands, I have that reminder of why I'm doing it, whether it be holding a microphone or taking a picture. And that often sparks conversation, is just the simple tattoo of Jesus. And it's actually my wife's handwriting. She wrote it. And just having that there at a photo shoot or anywhere, it sparks conversation with people. And that's the thing. It's like people often care about it more when they find out about it or when they ask you about it. They want to hear. Same way with how I approach my business is I never tell someone I'm a photographer, but when they ask what I do and I say I'm a photographer, then they will be more inclined to maybe go to my website or hire me, because it doesn't feel like I'm pitching them something,
That's good. Yeah. That in marketing, we call that permissible marketing. I think Seth Godin coined that phrase, where you establish rapport, you establish credibility with someone, and then they ask you, and then once they ask you, it's that much more powerful because now there's already some buy-in. So in the same way, you will go into a shoot, clearly you're a Christian. I mean, you have Jesus on your hand, right? Literally your wife's handwriting, Jesus on your hand. You're going into a photo shoot. You already asked them, you've already allowed them to ask you what you do. Then you go into the shoot. And sometimes conversation comes from that. Relationships get built, friendships get built. You get to share your faith occasionally in that. And is that a similar parallel to how you approach music and art, in that it's hey, this is who I am. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I'm a creative. And then as people ask, they get drawn in and they figure out, oh, he's a Christian, right? So similar, like the segue is similar in philosophy, more or less.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I learned it a little bit from serving in Young Life, where their goal is to reach the farthest kid out. It's go find the kid who's, the jock on the sports team, who's partying and smoking and sleeping around, and go love on him for no reason. Go love on him for no reason other than to love on him, build a relationship with him, bring him to Young Life down the road, take him to camp. And then he's saved. And it all started with loving on someone with no agenda.
That's good. So how does that relate to music? You talked about Young Life, you serving a young life. You talked about being a business owner, right? A Christian small business owner. Mm-hmm. And that's probably not on your website, right? You don't lead with Nick D, the small business Christian owner. You know what I mean? No. How does that parallel to music and what you do with rap?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same premise. I'm putting out content that I'm proud of. My message is always clear. And if you are a Christian, you listen to my songs, you can probably tell I'm a Christian. Mm-hmm. But if you're not, I just seem like, a conscious rapper, or like I obviously I don't cuss in my music, and nobody, you know what? It's funny. No one ever asks why I don't cuss, because I think
it's just self-evident.
Yeah, exactly.
It's an interesting place to be in, because you're clearly, there's something, the I think, is it Hebrews that says we're a peculiar people, right? There's something peculiar, there's something different, there's something clearly distinguishable. You listen to a song and you hear you hear your faith incorporated in a record. You see your Instagram and it leads with husband and father. And for the world, it's very overtly that, this dude is different. This dude, for the non-Christian, for the one that's furthest out, right? This dude is clearly different. But if the church is looking at it, or let's just say Christian rap fans, to them it's going to be, oh, he's not Christian enough. He's too worldly.
Yeah, and I think it's a balance. It's, I know where my heart is, right? And it may not be everyone's approach, but I think there's different people put in different places for different things. That I don't think, let's say, who's like maybe, what's like the God Over Money folks. Mm-hmm. They're probably, someone listening to one of their songs might just skip it. Mm-hmm. Like a super far out non-believer might just skip it. Mm-hmm. But for the stuff that I'm putting out, if they like it, they might listen to it all the way through. And then eventually, after a few listens, they'll start to see what I'm saying and why I'm saying it, and then DM me, and it happens all the time. I get the DMs and I respond, and tell them Jesus, Jesus changed my life. This is, I was always a good person, right? And I always had trouble with, this is before I was a believer, I always had trouble with the fact that if and when I got to heaven, God wouldn't let me in because I never accepted, Jesus as my Lord and Savior, but I was always a really good person. I thought that before I thought that was enough. I thought just being the best I can be would be enough, but I don't know if God's like the real deal. You know what I mean? Like that sort of thing.
So you thought by works that was enough to get you into heaven.
Yeah, and this is a non-Bible reading, like never going to church. Yeah, early 20-year-old, right? Yep. And I was like, at that time I always thought, what kind of good God would not, let that one go.
Yes. And so how has your view changed since you came to Christ and Jesus?
Yeah, I mean, just from educating myself and reading the Bible and having conversations with, friends who are believers, you just learn and grow. And I obviously know now, that's not enough. You got to have the heart behind why you're doing it, and recognize things that Jesus did for everyone. And it really changes. It changes the heart behind the good intentions. Because when you're doing good before, you do it, it makes you feel good. It makes me feel good to be nice.
Yeah.
But now, it's more than that. It's, you're trying to bring people into the kingdom.
Come on. So you're being good. It's not you're being good out of a behavior modification. I'm going to be good so that I'm a good person. I get the things I want. I'm going to be good because it makes me feel good. That's a good point. I never really thought about that. Like the fact that morally good people feel good about their good works, right? And that there's a dopamine spike in there. That's an interesting. I've never really sat there and thought about that. It's a really good point. You bring it up, and now you're saying, hey, it's not about being good for the sake of being good, for the sake of me, right? Because we could do the right things with the wrong motives. It's actually about being good because God was good to me, and God rescued me and redeemed me, and therefore I get to be good. I get to do these things now, right? It's not that I have to stop sinning. No. I get to be walking freedom. It's not that I have to read my Bible. I get to read my Bible. And so I think that's super dope, man. That I didn't really think about that. That's a really good point about like the motivations for being like I was never a good person, Nick, before Jesus. I was a scumbag, okay? I'm just gonna keep it a buck. I was a scumbag. I was a pretty terrible person. So for me, I knew I was a mess, and I knew I needed something to renew my heart. You're on the other side, but even in that, you're saying your motives for being good was actually driven by self and not driven by anything else. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so I titled this video "The Secular Christian Rapper." What I love about what you're doing is the fact that, bro, you're popping on TikTok right now, right? Like you, Paul Russell. Paul Russell does more of like covers and stuff, which is super fun. You do original music, and you've had multiple records go viral on TikTok and through TikTok that have then spiked over to your Spotify streams, going crazy. And so you're literally the guy who is one of the most Christian loving people I know, but you don't necessarily lead with that on TikTok, right? Which my TikTok does, by the way. Like I'm very like proverb of the day. Here's a Bible verse, right? You don't do that, but you lead with your music, and you have, I don't know, 120,000 TikTok followers, 70,000 Instagram followers. I want to leave people with this note. One, here's the deal: whether or not you like the approach or not, right? What we have to acknowledge is that it is a blessing and a privilege that Nick is influencing kids on TikTok. Like the fact that he is on TikTok blowing up, popping off, and it's clean and it's fun, and that anybody who peels away to that next layer of the onion will discover that he's a Christian, right? It doesn't take, maybe the second or third layer, very clear he's a Christian, very clear what he's about. So one, we have to acknowledge that. I think that's incredible. Two, I want you to talk about, you told me yesterday, you said, I forgot how you phrased it, but you said something along the lines of once you started to take your, say that to me again, because you said, again, you're coming from a small business, creative small business, and the moment you started doing music seriously, it started growing for you. And growing for you in a way that's unique. Again, you are a Rapzilla freshman. You're in the Christian hip hop circle, but you don't necessarily lead with, "Hey, I'm Nick D, the Christian rapper." You know what I mean? So just break that down in terms of the mentality you approach music with is much different than most people dabbling with music.
Yeah, I've been making music as a hobby since I was in high school. So, for a long time, and I never wanted to do it, or never took that, made the decision to do it as a career.
Right.
It was some fun. It was, what do you call it? It was like therapy, an outlet for, things and thoughts. And and then January 2019, I decided I'm going to try to do music as a career. And as soon as I made that decision, I immediately became a small business owner, in the sense of, if I'm going to do music as a career, it needs to generate income. How do you generate income? You need listeners.
Yes.
And how do I get listeners? X, Y, and Z. Follow, go down. Most people, they're like, I want to be a rapper. They don't say like, I want to own a small business and be an independent artist.
Come on.
They say, I want to be a rapper. So most of the time they make rap songs and they post them to the same 500 people every couple of weeks, and
it's a bar.
They wonder why they're not growing.
Come on.
So yeah, you just have to, if you want to make a career out of something, you got to make business moves.
You said the moment you decided to be a rapper, you said, I became a small business owner. And that's why I think your mentality and why you've been able to grow to 60,000, you know, 65,000 Instagram followers in what? It's been almost 22 months?
Yeah.
66,000 Instagram followers in 22 months. Hundreds of thousands of monthly listeners. I don't know what your monthly listeners are at. 30,000 Spotify followers. Millions of streams. 150,000 on TikTok. And it's because you came from a business mentality. Now, you're not like this like super wizard with Excel sheets and, you know what I'm saying, all this crazy stuff. You knew, hey, I'm doing photography, I'm doing something creative, I want to get paid for it, I want to get compensated for it. And you said the moment you made that switch and you said, I'm going to do music, you stopped just dabbling and you started dominating. Like you started dominating with music fairly out the gate. And then people came around you to help you. Then Cakes came around, started shooting your videos. St. Finnegan helped you with some of the videos. It started from a friend holding a camera to all of a sudden, you know what I mean? Like a video guy who's just as dope as you helping you with that kind of stuff. But it was the mentality shift of, I'm not just doing this as just something I'm dabbling in. No, I'm going to dominate in this. And that's what you've done. And it's a beautiful blueprint. I tell people all the time, I think Nick D is the blueprint for the independent artist.
That's love. I appreciate that. I mean, we think about like, even with photography, you know, let's say you want to be a photographer and you try to book clients, but you don't have portfolio. No one's going to want you to take their picture because they don't know what your work looks like. So as soon as I decided, right, boom, I dropped a song and a music video every 2 weeks. And content was the most important thing, to be so consistent that I was impossible to ignore. And
say that one more time for the people in the back.
To be so consistent that I was impossible to ignore.
To be so consistent, I was impossible. You got these bars, bro. To be so consistent, I was impossible to ignore. The moment I started doing music and it wasn't a hobby, I started a small business. Like, come on, bro. So I think this is the stuff that we don't talk about enough in the church. And guys, Nick D with 1 million, 2 million followers on TikTok is a massive blessing to the next generation, right? Whether or not you think he should say more Jesus verses, or whether or not he should, you know, whatever, like he needs to be more of a, that is just a fact, and I think we need to celebrate that. We need to support that. And right now, that's exactly what we're gonna do. Nick has a video dropping in, it's like the premiere just started in 1 minute. So we're gonna shut this stream down. I need everybody, hey, everybody watching this, click out of this video right now and head to Nick D's stream and like that video. We're gonna all join the stream. I'm gonna be in the chat with you guys. And I think this video could go viral, right? Like I feel like I'm the motivational guy that's just like saying stuff, but like I think this one right here can really go viral. So this is what we're gonna do. I need everybody out of this chat. We're gonna go over to Nick's channel right now. The link is pinned up. I'm gonna drop it once again in the chat. We're gonna go watch it. And we're gonna chop it up there. So thank you guys, Nick. Thank you. Maybe we'll come back for part 2 of this interview, and going deeper into some more of the tactical stuff, or have you do a Q&A with the people. But 1 minute left over there, guys. Go over there right now. I'm in that chat as well, so I'm headed there right now. Nick, I appreciate you, bro. I can't wait for people to see this new video. It's nuts.
Appreciate you too, man. Much love.
All right, brother.
Yes. I saw my mama smile through the silhouette. Sunshine and all. But she don't know that I still feel like we ain't made it yet. No, I ain't lying at all.